Welcome everyone. A very good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you from wherever you're joining us. Let me quickly set the context for this discussion, which is being organized by Ivy Cap Ventures and supported by Pandoro Technologies as their sustainability partner. Myself, Smita Mishra, I'm the founder of Pandoro Technologies. Pandoro is a AI-enabled SaaS platform that empowers businesses to be planet positive by identifying and managing their sustainability-related goals, their risks, and opportunities using the SDG framework. Besides offering custom solutions, also consulting services to large clients. And Ivy Cap Ventures is one of the leading homegrown venture capital fund management companies in India, managing 1,500 crore rupees across three fronts. IVCAP believes in leveraging global alumni ecosystems to build technology-driven innovative companies consisting of leaders from various fields around the world. The IIT IIM Alumni Network helps IVCAP to source deals, tap on talent, provide mentoring, resourcing, business connections, and expertise to add value to their portfolio. Today, we are discussing an important topic of food safety on the occasion of the World Food Safety Day, which we are celebrating on the 7th of June, 2021. And the slogan for which is for this year is food safety is everyone's business, which seems to be very aligned with the spirit, the core spirit of SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, which is to leave no one behind. So let me set further context for this particular discussion in that respect. The consumption and production of safe food have immediate and long-term benefits of for people, the planet, and the economy. The availability, the availability of safe and healthy food for all can be sustained into the future by embracing digital innovations, advancing scientific solutions, as well as honoring traditional knowledge that has stood the test of time. Our food systems need to produce enough food for all, enough safe food for all, recognizing the systemic connections between the health of people, animals, plants, the environment, and the economy will help us meet the needs of the future. Local actions based on equitable, often novel solutions, and strengthened multi-sectoral collaboration are essential to meet the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. And to have this important discussion with us, we have today Mr. Sanu Jacob. Mr. Sanu Jacob is currently working as a director at the Food Safety and Standard Authority of India. And so let us get started with the discussion. A very warm welcome, Sanuji, to the discussion. And may I please request you to first introduce yourself to the audience.
Thank you, Smita ji. A very good evening to all of you. And it's my pleasure to speak something very important topic, that is on the food safety, which is everyone's business. And in this regard, first I'll give a brief introduction about myself. So as Smita had mentioned, I am working as director in Food Safety and Standard Authority of India. Basically, I am a researcher, a scientist, hardcore scientist. I started my career as a scientist, agriculture scientist, and then was an educator. I worked as professor in the universities and colleges, and now as an administrator. And I was fortunate to work in different parts of the world, starting from Israel, Italy, France, Canada, Belgium, Holland, Africa, etc. as part of my career. So this is in nutshell about me. My domain is again on, my expertise is on post-harvest technology, mainly to look for some
I can't hear you. I still can't hear you. I can't hear you. I can't hear you, Sanu.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, now I'm able to hear you. So I missed the part of introduction after your various locations that you have worked with. After that,
Okay,
yeah.
so I am basically a post-harvest technologist, in which I gained my PhD and 3 postdocs. And it was on mainly, enhancing the shelf life of perishables, fruits and vegetables, using some sustainable solutions, uh, some good packaging ways where we can minimize such losses. Like in India, we have the losses, that goes to an extent of 30 to 40% of food gets, wasted. So how we can minimize that? So coming out with some solution, mainly to understand the product physiology. You have to go into the deep science part and evolve the technology. And in that only I did my, PhD and 3 postdocs. So that's all about me. And of course, prior to joining FSSAI, I also was fortunate to work in EIC, Export Inspection Council of India, which is an organization coming under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Again, a regulatory body to look after the food that is going out of India, exported to various countries. So the quality check, the quality control, the certification, whether it is meeting the importing countries' requirement, compliances, all such things were overlooked, were seen by us. And I was based at Mumbai that time. So that's all about me.
Thank you, Sanu, for giving us the background. And I think we are very fortunate to have you with us here. So let me make the best of it and get started with our first question for you. So,
Please.
like we discussed when we were on call also, that we already have a World Food Day. Then why do you
Mm-hmm.
think we need an additional World Food Safety Day, and why does food need so much of focus now with respect to food safety?
Well, you indicated in your,
I again lost you, Sam. Uh, I
am I audible?
Now you
Sorry,
are
and
like,
I because in between a call came, so it gets disconnected.
okay. Please, you can get
Uh,
started from the start, no problem.
so yeah, so food safety, as you indicated, in the beginning, it's everyone's business. Now you mentioned why we have 2 days. Uh, you know, I would say the food security cannot be achieved with food safety. When World Food Day, which is celebrated on 16th of October, it is celebrated, for a long time. I mean, the WHO and the FAO, they came together in the 70s and realized we should, we should give some relevance to the food. Mainly, it was in the context of not wastage. And if you even see the SDG goal, especially the SDG 2, which indicates zero hunger. So it was more, related to food security. And in 2018, in fact, the UN, they adopted a resolution which proclaimed that we should go with 7th June as World Food Safety Day, mainly, taking into account the global burden of, many foodborne diseases, which are affecting varied individuals across all different ages, particularly children or even people coming from the, low income countries. And if I say about that resolution, it was underlined that there is no food security without food safety. And for that reason, the food safety was emphasized mainly to, give good contribution where people can have, healthy living. It can positively impact the trade, and at the same time, it can also reduce the burden of, hunger and poverty. It can elevate the poverty also to maximum extent. So with that reason, the World Food Safety Day was, came into existence in 2018, and in 2019, 2001, this is the third year which we are celebrating. And World Food Day, which is celebrated on 16th of October, of course, we do have, series of lectures, and it mainly focus on the security. Mainly, the emphasis is on more production, uh, and while the 7th June is more towards the safety aspects.
Thank you so much, Sanji. And I think what you just said makes a lot of sense. And so the theme for this year's World Food Safety Day is Safe Food Today for a Healthy Tomorrow. Is there a
Exactly.
specific significance of this sentence? Like, how do you see this theme? How does it impact us?
Of course, uh, there is a very old, saying where let food be Thai medicine. That means if you eat good food, you can expect long-term benefits in people, and with long-term benefits, you can expect, good planet, good sustainability, good economy, and this is what is the mantra, where the safe food has to be there in order to give healthy tomorrow. Now, what is safe food? That means a food without any adulteration, without any microbial contamination, without any, any toxins in it, and in a way, if and with some nutritive substances like vitamins, like minerals, like proteins. So all these things, when it goes to the body, it nourishes us, and you can expect the body can, the human body can grow uh, in a good sense, without much diseases, without, creating burdens on the economy, and at the same time, it can give a sustainable, planet. So that is the reason we have the safe food, which is indication that it should be, means adulterant free, as well as enriched with the nutrition. Hello.
Yes. Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sanu. Yes, that makes sense. I think one of the major spend of people is, in fact, in today's day, their medical bills. So I think a safe food would definitely help not only in nutrition and removing the hunger and poverty, but certainly it also, I mean, yes, poverty also, healthcare also. I think it just has a lot of multifaceted impact. That makes a lot of sense.
True, very, 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 very true, Smitaji, because you rightly pointed, like many of the non-communicable diseases, especially the heart diseases, or the cancers, or the diabetes, they are all, food linked, and major, contribution has been linked that there is some kind of food, maybe a junk food, or maybe, some contaminated or adulterated food that went into the system. So that, at the end, adds cost, and for that reason, safe food has a very important role. So if we provide safe food to the population, so definitely, you can expect a healthy planet and a healthy lifestyle.
Absolutely. So moving on, Sanu, to the next question is, so I was reading through this some literature that was actually, I think, prepared by the Food and Agriculture Organizations of the UN and WHO and SDG teams together. And what I realized was that they have come up with a set of call to action. So they have defined that governments must ensure safe and nutritious food for all. They have also said that the agriculture and food producers need to adopt good practices. The business operators must make sure that food is safe, and consumers need to learn about safety and about safe and healthy food. And overall, they have called for a larger collaboration for teaming up together and working together for safe food and good health. So, what I wanted to understand from you is, considering these, are there any specific calls for action in your team or otherwise that you see in the nation or otherwise in the planet? And do you also see that because of these I would say, stakeholders, the government, the consumer, the producer, do you think there are new trends or changes that you foresee in whether on the production side or on the consumption side with the farmers, wholesalers, retailers of any consumer level? Overall in the agriculture sector or food sector, do you see new trends and because of this?
Mhm. Okay. See, first we have to understand, food is handled by many stakeholders, right from the farmer. From farmer, it goes to a wholesaler. From the wholesaler, it goes to a processing factory manufacturer. Again, the food is manufactured. There are in the factory itself, there are a series of people, maybe one receiving the food, the second is cleaning the food, third is processing the food, and then fourth is after processing operations, and then finally packing, labeling, etc. And then again that food again it moves to another uh, level in the chain, which can either be a wholesaler or a retailer, and then from there it goes to the consumer. And so you can see there are different people involved. That is the reason in the first instance it was told that food is everyone's, food safety is everyone's business. And everyone, it is a responsibility, it's a shared responsibility which everyone has to look into their sector and ensure that it has to be safe. Now, what we are doing in India from the FSSAI perspective, we have the Eat Right, India movement, which you can see Eat Right is emphasizing that we should have the right amount of, right food. Uh, if you see the logo of Eat Right, you can see more emphasis is given on the grains, on the fruits and vegetables, on the plant-based products, including a lot of water, and animal-based products are also being considered, but to a limited extent. So in that way, those kind of campaigns are going across the nation, state-wise, district-wise. We are also educating the schools. There is also fortification program that is being carried out by the government of India through public distribution system, where some staple food like rice, milk, oil, they are fortified with certain amount of nutrients, so that we can, in the long run, we can remove the malnutrition or any deficiency symptoms that is seen in a generic population. So in a way, it is going on in a long run, and one has to ensure whoever is stakeholder or partner in this chain, right from the manufacturer or from the producer to the consumer, we call it as from farm to fork, has to see that the food is safe. See, for example, even when we cook uh, at home, suppose a mother cooks the food at home, so you might see if she is waiting for her children to get back from the school, the food has been prepared. So first form of safety which she is applying in her household is covering the food so that no microbial contamination or some insect like flies avoided. Or if the children are coming little more late, then the second will be to keep it in the fridge or in the refrigerator, the cooked food, so that further spoilage doesn't. So such good habits where you also involve or you also apply the principle of hygiene, sanitation, can ensure good food, safe food for all. So this has to be adopted, and time and again FSSAI has come up with, if you see a website, there are dedicated web portals where this Eat Right campaign, educating all. We have mascots also, Mr. Sehat, Miss Sehat, which Sehat means health. Okay, so that are going around the schools, educating the children. The need for, there are certain regulations also that have come where if you see, the junk foods cannot be sold within the school premises in and around. So such kind of regulations have also come. If you see certain regulations, like any food that is displayed in a halwai or in a sweet shop, it has to be labeled with the expiry date. So such kind of regulations are also occurring simultaneously with the larger motto that the food that is being produced should reach safe to all, so that they can all have a good healthy well-being. Now, how we can all get connected together? If you see the SDG, the Sustainable Development Goal number 17, it is the amalgamation of all the stakeholders, whether all the SDGs like 1, 2, 3. So they are all clubbed together in the 17 with the universal goal that we need to have a good way of living, uh, and we need to go forward.
Absolutely, Saranjit. So, since we have been talking about food safety and its impact, and since we are in the COVID era right now, I had a quick question for you with respect to that. That while,
Mhm.
from what all I have heard and understood, is that COVID-19 is not transmitted by food, but the
Yes.
pandemic has certainly, sharpened the focus on food safety related issues, whether it is hygiene, whether it is antimicrobial resistance, or even the zoonotic diseases. In fact, food fraud. Yesterday, I was seeing some news on food fraud also, and the potential benefits of digitalizing the food systems. So one of the vulnerabilities that has been identified in food production and control systems is I mean, there are multiple weaknesses and vulnerabilities which we have been able to identify during this COVID time. So for the immediate future, minimizing disruptions in the food supply chain happens to be one of the highest priority in, because of the lockdowns and all of it. For the government and consumers both, it's important that people have reliable access to safe food. So what is really the role of food safety in such COVID times that you see, whether it is from the administration side or from the consumer side or the producer's side?
Well, Smita, that's a very nice question. Every consumer, is asking whether what food we eat is safe, especially during the COVID time. I would emphasize here, so far from the scientific studies that have been carried out, uh, most of the researchers are telling that COVID-19 or corona virus cannot be transmitted through food. So it's absolutely safe to consume the food. However, you should, when the food is received, uh, make sure that they are in the state of hygiene and good sanitary conditions have been maintained. And to educate this, if you permit, I can show you our website where we have dedicated pages, including some leaflets and brochures where dedicate, in line with the COVID, to give some good suggestions how to eat the food or how to wash the vegetables. There are different, depictions that have been made by our team uh, to educate, so that the fear of, the COVID spreading through food can be removed completely. So in that way, the food in the COVID, it cannot be transmitted by food, but definitely this pandemic has sharpened our focus on the food safety related issues, mainly the hygiene, the AMR, which is the antimicrobial resistance, the zoonotic diseases, the climate change, and of course, what you had mentioned, the food fraud, and the digitalizing the food system. Digitalizing the food system, again, we need to work more on this, uh, especially at every level. We need to have a trace back from where exactly this food came in. So at the, primary level, India is yet to reach that, from the producer perspective. But at the secondary level, there are certain, foods which can be traced back. So in a way, some good practices have to be followed. Certain regulations, from the regulatory perspective, directions have been given in our website. Also for the food manufacturers, for the food retailers, for the food distributors, advisories have been, given, and they have to follow that. Main thing is they have to maintain a good hygiene and good sanitary conditions.
Absolutely. So please feel free to showcase your site, and we'll be happy to see the guidelines if you want to showcase. There's a green button at the bottom that you
Sure.
can see for sharing screen.
Okay, I'll share that.
And while we are on the site, maybe you can also take us through a couple of links where we can actually see the guidelines, or see the actual, I would say, standards that we need to follow, or I mean, whether we are a food delivery business operator, food business operator, or we are into food business. So any guidelines that you can suggest or you can showcase where people can go and refer,
Sure.
especially for the, you can also
Sure.
mention the elements of the standards, food nutrients or packaging or delivery.
Sure. So you can see, are you able to see the website
No,
of
you will need
FSSAI?
to, share the screen.
Host disable the participant
Okay. Let
screen
me
sharing.
just see if I can allow. Okay, it's fixed now.
Okay.
Are you able to? Yes.
Yeah.
You can see your screen.
Now you can see my screen.
Yes.
So when you type the FSSAI gov.in, you can see there is a, starting itself, you have the two questions you had asked. One was the Eat Right India, which I had answered, and one is about the COVID-19. So when we click COVID-19, you will find, different advisories. What are the good practices that need to be followed? The posters, the regulatory compliance. If you're importing the food, what has to be eaten during the, what good food that can boost your immunity,
Yeah.
some videos of the expert, some guidance document. So all those things have been mentioned. You have to go through the orders, and you can find all those documents right from last March when the
Yeah.
incidence of COVID started.
Started. Yes.
FSSAI was very proactive in issuing such directions and orders.
I see that.
So you can see there are a list of orders and letters that have been issued pertaining to COVID. And if you are importing the food, so what are the you know
Guidelines.
conditions the guidelines that you need to fulfill. So all such things have been mentioned here. Regulatory compliances are mainly for the FBOs, that means the food business operator, right from the food manufacturer, distributors, all whoever are linked to the food.
Yeah.
So guidelines have been given. Certain posters and standard operating procedures have also been have come, like how you can supplement your diet with iron-rich plant-based food, or vitamin B6, B9. What is the how to improve your strong immunity? Such kind of how you can preventive measures, COVID-19 offices, in religious places, in restaurants, in shopping malls. So and the beauty is that it has been done in different languages. As you can see here, they have been translated also. So
So
in a way, yeah, please.
I was just curious because you mentioned that we had standard operating procedures coming for the hotels and the hospital, I mean, the hospitality sector in general in COVID times. So, is this something that is going to be there for a long time, considering that, I mean, the whole duration? And
I would suggest it's better to keep. We don't know how many more COVIDs might come in future, or some variants and all. So it's always better to follow the strategy, like prevention is better than cure,
yeah,
and all these practices are good enough. It is not so so it will be better if we can follow that on a good in the long run. And this will also meet the very motto of this World Food Safety Day, that means a healthy living,
yeah.
which is essential now.
So on the same, because we are on the site right now, Sam, if you can also show me, are these are the same place where a food business operator or a food manufacturer, they need to, it's production teams or some people who are producing some kind of ready-made food or packaging them. Do they also need to see the guidelines here only in general, like not really
Yes,
COVID?
yes, yes. Everyone, regulatory compliance, is something which every food business operator, I would suggest to have a look. What are the so that when we go for driving, we take the lessons before. That means if there is a red light, you have to stop. If it is a green light, you have to move on. If you're turning to the right, you have to give the indicators.
Yeah.
So it's not like during the driving you learn, but you get all these learnings before you actually try it on the field, on
Correct.
the road. So in that way, you have to also, a food business operator ideally has to look into the various regulatory compliances according to the factory. It might vary. One regular, the food, it may not be same or uniform, because the food business operator for a dairy sector who is dealing with dairy product, it will be different compared to a fruits and vegetable, or someone who is dealing with spices.
Yeah.
So the regulatory compliances has to be fulfilled as per the product type and as per the prevailing conditions. So it varies also at different level. For the manufacturer, it will be different. For the transporter, it will be different. For a distributor, it will be different.
Yeah.
So, so, so
So,
it is always better to look for all these compliances.
so all these regulatory requirements, of course, these are COVID specific ones, but are these the ones which people, whether they are transporting or even consumer, like as a consumer, if I want to know what are the food standards, then what would be the right
That
case for me?
to look into the food standard, we have a dedicated division called as standards.
Okay.
So that tells about the product standards. Uh, there are different food categories. So in this, you will get like the product standards. When I am looking into the product standards, so different food products that are on till date, different regulations that have come into place.
Hmm.
And most of this started from 2011 with the advent of food safety and standard regulation which came. So standards have been set in. What should be the pesticide level limit? What should be the antibiotic level limit? What should be the do's and don'ts? The limits have been prescribed with the we have taken experts, scientific experts are there. There are different standards uh, like the milk standard, the fruits and vegetable standards, which are more or less vertical in nature. We also have the horizontal standards like the contaminant standard, the biological hazard standards, the pesticide standard, which can move across all different commodities. So those are the horizontal standards. So and there is a team of scientists, I would say experts, who are roped in and who look into each and every standards very critically. And we also take into account the universal standard, which is the Codex Alimentarius, and we also see how best we can synchronize the codex for the Indian condition. If it is not suiting, then we come up with our own standard and formulate and go forward.
Who
So different standards
makes,
are.
who makes codex?
Codex is actually is a joint venture between the FAO and the WHO. They came together in the 60s,
Okay.
if I'm not wrong, and they said we should have Codex Alimentarius. Alimentarius is food, so the food code. So every countries they come together and they try to there is a brainstorming sessions every year, and they come up with different standard. If you allow me, I can take you to also the Codex Alimentarius website,
Sure.
where you can also see different standards. So you have this Codex Alimentarius Commission. So it is hosted by the FAO website. So now you can see here in the different committees, there are different committees, regions. Now you can see the commodity committee, which look into different, specific commodities like fish and fishery products, fruits and vegetables, fats and oils, spices. These are more or less, these are the vertical standards. Now, if I go further into some committees like the horizontal committee, uh, which is the general subject committees, you can find these are the horizontal committees like the contaminants in food, the food additives, the food hygiene, the food labeling, general principles. Okay, so all these things are the horizontal committee, and they fall across all the vertical food standards. So in that way, they have a meeting on annual basis, and they deliberate and go with the document, which is a long time taking process. They have to go with different steps, and once they cross those steps, they have to get the approval, and finally it evolves as a standard.
Understood. Thank you so much, Sanu, for sharing all of this. If you want, you can unshare the screen, no problem. And
Sure.
yeah, so I'll quickly try to wrap up the discussion with the last two questions of mine. One is, you have been actually very proactively been mentioning about SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, and you've been saying that, and I mean, acknowledging that food safety does have an impact on various aspects of sustainable living. And very particularly, I do see, like we talked also earlier, it's about SDG 2, no hunger, or whether it is about SDG 1, which is zero poverty. In fact, I see it impacting healthcare, SDG 3. And if you look at SDG 12 also, like you started your conversation saying that about 30 to 40% food gets wasted. And that is got a very significant focus in SDG 12, the responsible consumption and production. So what I'm trying to actually understand here is, how do you see FSSAI or other organizations in food safety and food security? How do they map do they actually work towards it actively, towards SDGs? Do they map their SDGs, or right now it's not really in a formal setup, but you are aware and you are actively working towards these?
Of course, yes. Now, when we see the genesis of SDG, it came in 2015 and with a target of 2030. So 15 years have been set for the SDGs. And as you rightly pointed, there are, food related SDGs. One would be the SDG 1, which is no poverty. The second, of course, is related to food, which is zero hunger. And third is again related to food, which is good health and well-being. And I would also take the SDG number 6, which is related to the clean water.
Yes.
And clean water and sanitation.
Yes.
And SDG 12 is the responsible, consumption and the production. And overall, SDG 17, which I discussed, is the partnership, where all this SDGs are coming together. So in all these SDGs, some element of food is there. Now, the SDG, let's take SDG 2, which is zero hunger, which is more pertaining to, to achieve the goals. So they have again, sub-classified, where the first emphasis, in fact, is on giving, access to safe and nutritional food to all. Now, this is not happening. When we go to some remote area like Orissa, where some remote poor district, people are not, having the 3 meals per day. Some, are having 1 meal, and we are not sure whether they are eating safe food or not. So the first and prime importance has been given that they should, the SDG 1 should give some universal access to the people, where they can have the safe food. And with that, this malnutrition can also be, at the same time, can be ended in the right way. And then again, one of the, which I can link to the poverty, because most of the farmers are small scale or marginal farmers in India. There are only few rich farmers. And that is the one SDG, is looking at how we can double the productivity of the farm, and at the same time, bring income also to the farmers. Which, if you see, the government has already put this agenda where doubling the farmers' income. This is one of the very prime agenda of the current government, and this is also fulfilling one of the SDG. And then, of course, there are challenges like cyclone or things happening where sometimes the lands get affected. Now, since I studied in Orissa way back in 1999, I did my PG there, a postgraduate, and we had a super cyclone that time, and close to 10,000 people died in that cyclone. And I was called, being an agriculture postgraduate, I was called to Paradeep, and I was seeing that the sea water has, encroached the land. And in whichever house I was going, I was, given the lime water, salted lime water. When I asked the farmer what makes him to give this, he said, our wells are all contaminated. We don't have fresh water because it is. So we have to also go with the resilient approach where we have to reclaim the land. We have to grow certain crops which are salt resistant. So this is also one of the way where we can evolve sustainable food production.
Yeah.
And of course, I won't suggest we should go for monocropping. We should have a high, biodiverse system where if one system fails, then the second system can evolve and help in maintaining the food security. And then, of course, government of India is involved in a lot of, roadways. Previously, there were not many roads reaching the farm, but now, there are highways, there are good roadmap, digital network is going. Infrastructure, I mean, the emphasis
Yeah.
is on infrastructure, which is very important. And also, we need to look also into some, incentives where the income of the country can be ensured. And then, of course, as I said in the beginning, the post-harvest loss
Yeah.
is one of the very major challenge, especially in the perishable food products. So how best we can minimize that? We have to look into the technologies. We have to come up with some technology, maybe through packaging, maybe through storage, maybe some, novel ways of processing where we can, increase the shelf life of that product, which can be ultimately used. Because at the end, when we see the earth is limited, our earth, we cannot increase the space. That is one of the, but the population is increasing, it is exponential. And with limited space on the earth and rise in population, and the limited, food production area, we have to think more on the lines where we can increase the food production. In fact, there is in agriculture ministry, they are also, going with the more crop per drop. That means with less water, you go with like the Israel way of drip irrigation,
Yeah.
where with every drop you are making more crop. So such kind of, things you can, I mean, good novel solutions are already there. We need to either mimic, adopt, or evolve for a sustainable future.
Absolutely, Sanjay. I think use of technology and new solutions can make a huge difference in actually overcoming the food security and even
Definitely.
food safety requirement. So my last question here for you is, we are already seeing a need of newer technologies, newer solutions, but with an increased focus on food safety, what are some of the opportunities that you would like to highlight that you see could actually be a commercial opportunity for the new entrepreneurs and startups?
Oh, I would say it's a huge opportunity. You know, as I said, population is growing. So with that, we all depend on food. So with food, there are challenges. You already mentioned there are frauds, there are adulteration. Some are coming, on what by purpose. Some are coming, without purpose,
Unintentional.
like microbial contamination and unintentional, right? So definitely one of the good, FSSAI right now is facing is a shortage of food testing labs in the country. So if more number of labs that come up that can, do the testing of food. We don't have good labs in the Northeast, so or in the remote areas. So such kind of lab setup is a very good avenue, provided they meet the FSSAI requirement, which they have to fulfill the national accreditation board of laboratories, the NABL, they have to fulfill and get it and have the testing. So there is one good opportunity. The second is also, most of this testings are conventional. It takes time to get the result. So if we have some, handheld equipment, some fast solution, which can give the result, within seconds, within minutes, that will be really a good avenue where companies can come up. I will, if my screen is still shared, I can take you to. Is my screen visible? Is my screen visible? I cannot hear you.
Sorry,
Is my screen visible?
Yeah. No, it's not, but you can try and share it now. Sorry, I was on mute.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, I can see your screen now.
So you can see, I'll take you to the food testing. So, the companies can come up with certain, like I'll take you to the first one, which is the rapid analysis food testing kit, or a technology or a method where certain, kits can be formed, which can do some, quick evaluation, which can give something very quick answer. Now, some of the companies, I am just showing here some of the companies that have come up with some rapid food testing to measure the coliforms in drinking water, or pseudomonas in drinking water. So such kind of, technologies, if the companies, especially the Indian companies, they can come up with certain solution. They have to do certain R&D and look at the challenge and come up with some smart solution, which can which are affordable, and at the same time it can be used as a handy tool, either at the consumer level or at the regulatory level, where the food inspectors can go and do a quick test, and it can ensure safe food. Other thing, like, some smart inspection tools can also be can be thought about. Some software I was telling, where we don't have the, traceability till the farm level. Maybe at the secondary level we can do some tracing, but if we can digitalize the whole process, right from the production till the consumption of one particular food, then that is also that can also be a very boon, in the food system. Companies can come up. There are, certain companies I'm seeing, they are going with the blockchain and things like that. So we can also think on that line, where the traceability of the food can be seen, and we can minimize certain frauds. Even that is from the food testing perspective. Inspection perspective also, if you have some, viable solution where testing can be seen from, where we can have some artificial intelligence, where we can use and check a FBO, food business operator, right, sitting at our place, instead of going for the, manual inspection, maybe a remote inspection. If we can come up with using some smart technology or ways, that is also one of the, good way to come up. So there are, different. Now if you connect with the Eat Right India movement, some, novel food products which can build immunity, that is from the product development point of view. So that can be thought by certain, companies. There are in fact companies which are coming up with different solutions. So even educating, I would always say that three things have to be educated right from the LKG level. That is, first is the environment, second is about the agriculture, and third is about the health and food. So if we are teaching, so if we have some, good, usually our curriculum has this broad subject like Hindi, English, maths. We are only confined to those five subjects. We have to, enlarge, make it as a compulsory, curriculum right from the LKG till the 12th standard. Then definitely one day we can see, maybe after 20 years, 30 years, safe, secure future for the whole world, because education also plays a very important role. And if companies can come up with some education materials synchronized with the regulatory requirement policies, and we educate in masses, then definitely we can expect safe food for the world.
Yeah, absolutely, Sanu. One last follow-up question, because you mentioned that word, it caught my attention, was blockchain. How open do you think is Government of India, or for that matter, governments across the planet, open to adopting blockchain in being able, in tracing the primary producer of the raw materials?
Well, we are yet to go into that level, but one of the government organization, in fact, some time back, I was hearing one of the government organization, which is the Coffee Board. They have, evolved with this technology. They are employing this blockchain where they can go and do the tracing. So probably it's a small sector because there are limited producers. Coffee is confined only to Karnataka as on today, or maybe Kerala. I mean, these are the two states which are the major coffee growers. So in that way, blockchain might be useful. So we have to, start with some products where the chain, the supply chain is limited and less, and that can be one of the easy way to go forward. And eventually, we have to connect all the small chains. We have to, and then do a connection and networking, which is through digitalization, or I'm not clear with the blockchain approach, but the concept I understood from various literatures and from my friend is it helps in giving a trace back, and that can also be thought of. And just try to Google Coffee Board blockchain. You will find some they have come up with solutions on that. So it is going around, and hopefully in future it might be, maybe in 10 years time, this can also be one way to find or trace the food.
Certainly. I think these are all great suggestions, Sanu. I really hope that the younger generation looks up, listens to this conversation and is inspired to work in the food safety space also. So thanks a lot for all your great insights and for your time. We are really honored, and it was a great pleasure to host you.
Thank you. Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you very much.
So thank you everyone for listening to the conversation, and I really hope it's of much interest and of use to you. And going forward, I think I really hope everybody really aligns themselves to the actual slogan of this World Food Safety Day, which is food safety is everyone's business. So it doesn't really, there's no one team that really needs to own it up. We all have to participate towards making our food more safe for ourselves and our families. And let's really hope that we all stand true to the theme of this year's World Food Safety Day, which is safe food today for a healthy tomorrow, because that is only getting proven right. So I really hope we all take it seriously and adopt it seriously. Thank you all. And again, thank you, Mr. Sanu. It was a great pleasure having you. See you around.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.